Today, we're talking about monetization in Forge of Empires, but not from the player's perspective. Instead, we're going to be taking a look at the money that the developers, InnoGames, have made. Some of it is good news, some of it is not. How do we even know any of the numbers on how much revenue Forge of Empires is bringing in, though? In short, we don't. But the owners of InnoGames, Modern Times Group, or MTG, just published a quarterly report on their finances. And inside of this supposedly boring document, we have a gold mine of information. I'll have it linked below. First, let's talk about the general overview. Forge of Empires revenue, or amount of money that they bring in, is down year over year, and not a small amount either. They're reporting a double-digit decline in revenue, which means that at a minimum, they made 10% less than they did last year. That's not a good thing. Considering that Forge of Empires is the most profitable game in InnoGames' portfolio, as shown in this chart from one of MTG's presentations from 2022, also linked below. In 2020, the company's revenue was about $240 million USD, and while the total revenue for the company took a hit in 2021, we can see that Forge of Empires alone dropped drastically, and that decline has done nothing but continue. While I don't have any real numbers for Forge of Empires revenue between 2021 and the present, I took a look at all of MTG's reports for InnoGames since Q1 2021. Only 3 of the reports mentioned anything positive, with 5 being negative, including Q4 of 2022 being called out as having no significant inflow of new users. Even today, with the release of Q1 2023's report, Forge of Empires revenue appears to still be declining, but with the stress on the game gaining, quote, positive momentum, end quote, heading into April. Additionally, it appears that we got some confirmation on the recent reorganization of InnoGames that resulted in 75 employees being laid off, more than 1/6 of the total employees. This no doubt has much to do with the declining revenue, but regardless, InnoGames has stated that the company is reorganizing to focus heavily on the development of new games, like Rise of Cultures, while, quote, refocusing the teams working on current live titles, end quote. This likely won't affect Forge of Empires too heavily in the short term, as it is still InnoGames' most successful title, but they now have their focus primarily set on accelerating new games that are built for mobile first and maintaining their older classics like Forge of Empires second. So what does all of this information mean for you as a player? There's actually some key takeaways. If you learn nothing else from this video, let it be 1. Event passes are firmly here to stay. 2. Mobile ads are not going away. And 3. Expect a focus on newer players in the game. So let's break these points down. The report refers to the event passes as the Battle Pass system, and consistently points them out as being one of the ongoing drivers of revenue in Forge of Empires, alongside an improved tutorial system. What this means for us is that event passes are a part of the game now, whether we like it or not. It still remains to be seen exactly how they decide to make the passes valuable, such as whether we'll see more buildings like the Keymaster's Workshop, which can produce event buildings over time, or rather focus more heavily on exclusive buildings like the Tree of Silence in the St. Patrick's Day event, which was called out specifically in the report for performing really well. In recent images taken from the beta server, it even appears that the game may experiment with multiple tiers of event passes. So instead of just the normal grand prizes and the event pass, there will be a tertiary track of rewards that no doubt requires more money to buy. However, InnoGames is not just focusing on adding more things that you can buy, but also is going to continue having ads in its games, including Forge of Empires. While the feedback has been very negative on the forums, another report by MTG shows that in a 2-month time span, one of InnoGames' titles that was tested with ads saw 60% more revenue than conventional in-app purchases. Compared to the previous state of the game, with no ads whatsoever, it's clear that they're here to stay. However, it wasn't all smooth sailing for the introduction of mobile ads. With Apple's recent change to their Identifier for Advertisers, or IDFA system, which basically allows companies to track users to see the success of advertisements, they had a bit of trouble implementing ads. I wouldn't be surprised if this is part of the reason why, even after ads were first introduced in an A/B test last August, they have only been fully implemented this March to the dismay of many players. For the company though, this move does make sense, as the mobile game market is growing rapidly compared to the rather slow growth of the computer or console markets. Luckily for many of us, as of yet, there are no ads in the browser version of the game, so if you don't want ads, that's pretty much your only option besides paying for Forge Plus or the ad package. Moving on, it seems that there is a much greater focus on new players in the game. The new tutorial for Forge of Empires was called out many times throughout the report, but I believe the main reason it was mentioned was for the Path of Innovation, a new feature that was recently released that allows you to get some extra rewards as well as some exclusive portraits, essentially an event pass. This feature is positioned to convince players to start spending money early at the beginning of their journey in the game, and it's proven that players who purchase something once are more likely to spend more later. The goal here is to convert free-to-play players into paying players quicker, and it seems InnoGames is hopeful that this will do so. Events also seem to target newer players as well. Many event buildings are so powerful now that newer players, or even experienced players starting new cities, are able to quickly build up boosts to jump in and participate in the guild expeditions, guild battlegrounds, and PvP. However, the events are balanced tightly such that inexperienced and new players are less likely to get all the upgrades for the main building for free, requiring them to spend cash to do so. Again, this helps to incentivize players to make that first purchase. I mentioned it earlier, but I want to re-stress that this quarter's financial report constantly uses the phrase positive momentum when referring to Forge of Empires and InnoGames as a company. While the game's revenue is declining, it seems that it might be pulling out of the decline that it has been in for at least the past year. This is a very good thing for everyone playing the game. Whether or not you agree with the monetization or how it's currently being done, at the end of the day, somebody has to pay for the servers, maintenance, and development of new content. If the game doesn't make enough money, there won't be a game to play at all for paid and free players alike. Hopefully this video lent a bit of context to how the game is doing overall and why we're seeing such a push towards monetization at the moment. If you want to discuss the new video, join my Discord server linked below. I hope you learned something, and as always, I'll see you next time.